Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Map Battle League show. I'm your host, Carp, and I'm joined today by Orpheus. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, it's great to have you on here. We have finally made it to the end of the regular season. This is week 13, and it's going to be the last chance for our players to sort of get into playoff spots and maybe secure promotion, get out of relegation. So this is one of the most important weeks, really. And as we'll see, in every division, the battle is still pretty close. So let's take a look at what went on this week in uh, Division 1. And right off the bat, you and Moislab both picked up perfect scores in Spain. And while it's not a win, that draw at least gave you some points to stay in the playoff battle.
Yes, well, obviously, my opponent picked a US map, and yeah, it's not the country that I like the most. But it's very interesting because all the US players, except you, I think, picked a North American map.
Mm-hmm.
So always the home advantage, and we can see that it worked. It worked well for them. Like for Sheldon Wong in Canada or Solar Sensei. Um, I don't know if Shumi really played the maps because his scores are a bit low.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and well play for your win in Romania against
Yeah.
Paulinho.
Uh.
And
Yeah. Yeah. That was a bit of an upset, I think. Uh. So yeah. Then that was good. Although he did sort of get a faster time in German, so overall it is a draw. But I get the extra bonus points, so that's 2 points for me this week. Um, so yeah, that's good. And yeah, out of all the American players, I think I'm the only one who doesn't really like going for American maps, because I'm honestly a bit terrible at them. Uh, so yeah. Um, Other than that, Boxer, M the Baseman, and Solar Sensei pick up wins. Boxer, you'd expect him to pick up wins. M the Baseman gets an easy win since Blinky isn't playing anymore, which is a bit unfortunate, seeing as this was the week when Baseman finally got his pick of Netherlands as a map. I keep stealing it away from him. But yeah, he finally got it in the last week, and at least he got to play it. Uh, yeah. So let's take a look at the standings then. And these are the final standings for Division 1. And yeah, Orpheus, you've made it into the playoff spots. You're going to be in the semifinals at the very least.
yeah, it's I'm really happy for this because it started a bit. It was difficult at start because, as you can see, there were a lot of draws, and it was a very tough competition. Um, I everything was fun. I mean, all the players were very close in the rankings, and everything could happen. Like for example, for I think for Paulinho, it's a bit hard because he was in the first places for a long time, and he finished in the at the fifth place. And so, for example, as I said, many draws like Sheldon Wong, Most Flubber, and Scripero with 10 draws. And yes, and I think Sheldon is the only player undefeated, even if Boxa missed a week. But yeah, so it's gonna be. We will talk about it later, but it's gonna be difficult for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And and another thing is that Barry has the highest numbers of 25Ks, but is in the relegation playoffs. So yes, it was a very challenging division.
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually just barely escaped direct relegation. So while I'm in the relegation playoff. Until last week, I was in 13th spot, and yeah, I've managed to just escape that, and now I'm gonna have to fight to stay in this division next season. Um, and yeah, about Paulinho, like even right now, he's tied on points and 25K with Solo Sensei. It came down to score difference there. So yeah, that's gotta hurt a bit. Um, and yeah, and the Basement and Xander also spent a lot of the season sort of flirting with the edge of the relegation playoff spots, and they've managed to escape it. So they'll see another season here in this division. Yeah, so let's take a look down to Division 2, where, well, some of us in Division 1 might be headed here next season. And yeah, we have Gabriel, Trickter, and Brian all picking up wins this week. Um, Brian actually pulling off a bit of an upset over Burdock, who did spend a fair bit of the season near the top of the table. Um, and yeah, that's definitely gonna help Brian stay in the promotion battle. Um, we also have a tie between Jaifuckpunkt and Hexalt in Linz.
Yeah, I know Hexalt, for example, wasn't really pleased to play Oceania because because of the Australia Street View and all the lost roads. But he wins, so it's great for him because he managed to escape the relegation playoffs. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think Wardock against Brian was the most interesting matchup. And because I mapped the Eswatini map,
Ah.
and I saw their what they say about it. It was
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and yeah, a bit interesting. Like Zotomo picking Bishkek, it's quite interesting.
I think
And
maybe spending all the time with Calamity has rubbed off on him. Maybe he thought
yeah,
he'd have a chance
yes,
there. Um, but yeah, about the Eswatini map, if I remember correctly, there were some uh, let me say complaints about what constitutes an urban location in Eswatini, because that was the 5 urban locations map.
yeah, because yeah, a city in Eswatini is a bit complicated
Yeah, it's
to
just a few
define.
houses.
But, but yeah, it were there were the most populated cities. So yeah, I think it was urban.
Yeah, yeah. Other than that, I think mostly results that you'd expect out of this division. I think Brian versus Burdock was really the only particularly, let me say, high stakes game on here. Um, Although actually Dryfuck versus Hexal also sort of was a make or break for the relegation spot. Yeah, let's take a look at the standings as they've turned out, and Gabriel and Diesel have secured promotion to Division 1. So we're gonna see more of them up there. And meanwhile, on the other end, Sotomo and Schludi have not had the best season. And yeah, are gonna relegate down to Division 3. And we have a few playoff battles going on. Um, do you have any sort of predictions for who might um make it there?
I think um, well, it will be really close. As you can see in the rankings, the players are already close, so it will be hard. I think Werdock and maybe Brian could be favorites here, but it will be complicated. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the and the and in the other side, it will depend on the maps. Like we will see after, but Trickter picked a no move map where he is very good at, so it
Mm-hmm.
can play a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely see a strategy still coming into play as we move into the playoffs. But we'll take a look at that a little later. Um, But yeah, definitely some really close players in these playoff spots. So yeah, it's gonna be difficult to call who might make it through. Let's take a look now at Division 3. And well, Max and Lunacy Echo are the only ones to pick up wins. Oh, and Armand picks up a win as well. Um, which probably is a good thing. I don't know if he was particularly looking forward to playing Thailand, but Teaser didn't play in the end, so that was an easy win for him there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Lunacy Echo wins against Labangreb in Norway.
Yeah.
Even if it's the island, so it can be a bit tricky because the islands we have to find it on the map, and yes, it can be tricky. And yeah, like Farabon can thank me because I was just behind him. Just I mean, I was just before him, sorry, in the weekly order, and I didn't pick France but Spain, so
Ah.
he can thank me. And yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, he
y-
definitely
other,
capitalized on that.
yes, other than that, uh, yeah, it's logical results, I think.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Other than that, yeah. Pretty much everyone won on the map they picked. I think Laban, Greb, and Seppo just losing on their maps of choice. Uh, but yeah, as you'd expect, and in the rankings, we won't see too much movement around here. Lunacy Echo, with his win, unfortunately, isn't able to secure promotion or even make it into the playoffs. Although I think that was pretty much decided last week itself. Um, Plucky and Armand secure direct promotion. Plucky with 30 points, which is at the highest of the league. Okay, Box also had 30 points. I'm just scrolling through every division. Kiribati in 5B also has 30 points. But yeah, definitely a bit of a barrier to hit over there. And on the other end, Ottawa and Seppo, unfortunately, are relegated down to Division 4 for next season. Um, yeah. I think the playoff battles over here are a little more spread out, um, at least in terms of points when you look at them.
Yeah, there is a big gap between the six first players and the other players. So the ranking is logical. Plucky already dominated the division. Um, I, it will be very hard to predict who will be promoted and who will stay in the division. I think
Yeah.
um, I'm really interested in the matchup between Jake and Farabon,
Hmm.
which will be very challenging, I think.
Yeah. Um, it is kind of unfortunate for Jake, who is on the same number of points as Armand, but I think Jake's strategy of going for the non-moving maps and things like an official uncommon world has sort of been a handicap over here because he has four fewer perfect scores than Armand, which on those non-moving maps, obviously it's hard to pull off perfect scores, and that sort of hurt him over here. Uh, Despite having on paper a slightly better record than Armand. Both of them have 7 wins, but Jake has one draw more than him. So yeah, a bit unfortunate for Jake, but we'll see. Maybe he can still secure promotion in the playoffs. Uh, yeah. Well, let's move on to Division 4, and here we see a lot of wins going around. Clemens, Pastetli, Sepkius, and Finn all pick up wins. Finn, I think that's actually his first win since he joined the league, which is great. He hasn't had the best season since entering, but with that win, even though that's not going to get him out of relegation. I'm sure he'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I will. How to say? I talk a lot with Hedikmi, and I know he was not very pleased about the maps because uh, Senegal was a choice by default, let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he doesn't really like uh, Bulgaria. I mean, countries. That use Cyrillic, and
Ah.
so it was a bit hard for him. But when he played, he already knew that he was already promoted because of the draw between Calamity and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that he only needed 1 point to win the division, and he managed to earn a bonus point in Senegal for only 3 points. So
Yeah.
it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, other than that, Calamity in Kyrgyzstan, obviously, and some um, some wins, partially over Paranoid Android, or Subcrossed against Bitline Peaks, who struggled a bit in Germany, in Bochum. So yes, so other than that, Renata winning in Czechia, and Georgesa Michael in Ireland. So it's yes, it's
Yeah.
logical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not much of a surprise there. Yeah. I maybe Bitlympics pick of Bochum wasn't the best choice. Going up. I believe Sepkius is also German, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, or is he actually from Luxembourg? Uh, in any case, yeah, Sepkius definitely took advantage of that, picks up the perfect score. Um, and yeah, as we'll see now, that does put him up into a promotion playoff spot alongside Clemens, Calamity, and Renata. So all three Austrians are up in promotion spots. Jack is promoted for sure, and well, we'll have to see whether Clemens and Calamity can join their fellow Austrian in Division 3 next season.
Yeah, but the the Antarctic player beat all
Haha.
the Australian players.
Yeah.
So yes, it's nice for Hedik Me, who had a hard season in Reddit League last season. So it's nice for him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was very close between the three Australian players. So yes, the playoff. I think for the playoffs, Calamity and Clemens should be favorites, but yeah, anything can happen. In the other side, mm, complicated.
Yeah.
I think we can see Bitlympics was a bit. He has 5 points less
Yeah.
than Edward, so maybe he will struggle a bit in the playoffs.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. He might be one of the ones who ends up getting relegated as well. Although, as we'll see, the relegation battles occur both in the division and across. So there's a chance he could stay if he manages to beat some of the um, promotion, promoted players from Division 5. But we'll take a look at that in just a bit. Um, Interesting to note, Sebgius is also unbeaten this season, picking up 4 wins and 9 draws. So I'm sure he can be very happy with that. If I'm not mistaken, this week was also his first perfect game uh, at 125k coming in the final week. Uh, but yeah, like you said, Hidikmi just about broke into that top spot in the division. I know Jack and Clement spent a lot of time up there in the sort of first like 2/3 of the season, and yeah, at the end, Hidekni managed to break through. Meanwhile, Finn and Ordboka are unfortunately relegated. Ordboka didn't have the best season, only picking up 8 points. And Finn joined halfway through to replace Connor, but sort of started with a handicap. And he did get a win in the last week, which I'm sure is a good enough consolation prize for him. Yeah. Let's move on to the first of the fifth divisions. And well, over here we have Flipster, Penguin, Druve, and Radox all picking up wins. Which for some of them would be important to sort of secure those direct promotion spots or even just a regular promotion. I know Radox is in the battle with Biquette for the direct promotion spot, so we'll see whether that win helps him out there. But Biquette's win. Oh, Biquette also won. I missed that.
Yes, it was a hard week for some of them, like Finn, Revrokus, and Rafa. Nice perfect score in Pyrenees by Biquet. It's the kind of map I think when you are French or Spanish, it's very easy for you. But I mean, it's way easier than for the other players.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, other than that, mm, like I said, yeah, it was hard for some players.
Yeah. We do see Rafa's pick of Colorado maybe not being a very wise decision, going up against Drew, who's Canadian, but I guess North America is one thing. I know Drew is pretty good at US maps himself. So yeah, Rafa, who in theory had a shot at taking the top spot in the division, yeah, unfortunately loses this week. With fairly low scores in both of the American maps there. Um, Further up, we do see Rev Ruckus and Finn picking up losses, which they haven't had the best seasons, especially as they came in. Actually, only Rev Ruckus came in sort of in between to replace Flapper. But yeah, not the best week, but I believe last week they were mathematically eliminated from most of the rankings. But yeah, Penguin, picks up the expected win in his hometown, so no surprise there either. So yeah, let's take a look at the standings. And yeah, Biquette secures direct promotion up to Division 4 for next season. Radox, despite getting the win this week, is just 1 point below. And Rafa, Lord Pepsi, Druve, Penguin, and Flipster are the other ones who are going to be in the battle to promote up to Division 4 for next season.
Yeah, I expected Biquette, Rodux, and Rafa to be at the top of the rankings. So yes, it makes sense. This final standings make sense. But it was yes, it was close at the top. Even if there is a gap after the from the 10th place, and yeah, for the playoffs, it would be complicated to 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 know where will be promoted because they will play for some of them against Division 4 players. So we will see if there is a gap between the divisions.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with GB losing to Radox and Flipster picking up a win, GB does drop out of the promotion playoff spots, which is unfortunate. And yeah, that means out of the, well, two Finns and one person representing Finland, none of them do make the playoff spots for now. But yeah, let's take a look at the sister division to this, Division 5B. And yeah, a bunch of wins for the Frenchmen in this division. Arga, Le Temps, Afi, and Jena all picking up wins along with Kiribati. Uh, Also, you can tell me if I mispronounced any of them.
I think Jeune Hérisson. I think it's difficult for
Okay.
non-French people.
Jeune Hérisson.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see interesting scores in official extraordinary world.
Mhm.
So I don't know if the seed was very difficult or I mean the map is can be quite difficult. So
Yeah.
yes, and yeah, that Le Temps had a nice week against Waikolok.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, Kiribati beating Jogger with a nice perfect score in the Swedish Islands.
Mhm. If I'm not mistaken, hang on, I'm just checking this. Yeah, Le Temps does get the highest score of the week, so he's gonna have first choice if he does make it to the later promotion battles. We'll see about that in a bit. But yeah, high score of the week. So well done. Wakelog does pick up a bonus point in their match in Delaware, which I'm sure is a good consolation prize. And yeah, while Kiribati won, his fellow Kiribatian, I don't know what you call someone from Kiribati. But yeah, Valentin Rebia did not um, play this week, and so Afi does pick up an easy win, which should help his bid for staying in the promotion battle. But yeah, other than that, I think mostly results that you expect, people winning on their own maps. Sri Lanka did turn up. Actually, Sri Lanka was also not very kind to Dad City and Dakapaka at all, really. Um, and yeah, also the matchup between Bombadil and Jean, Tierra del Fuego, and Southern European Hell. Uh, Clearly it was kind of hellish for Bombadil. So yeah, that is a loss for him there, and yeah, that win would help Jean's bid for the playoff spots, which as you can see, Kiribati does secure direct promotion to Division 4 for next season. While Wakelok, Le Temps, Guala Wizard, Jeune, Afi, and Ankomako are all in the promotion playoff battle, with Arga just missing out on score difference there.
Yeah, there is a gap after Guado Wizard. I think it's pretty logical for Kiribati, Waikolok, Le Temps, or maybe Guado. I think who is in Division 2 in Reddit League, I think,
Oh,
if I remember
mm-hmm.
correctly.
That
So,
sounds about right.
so yes, and yes, other than that, a lot of French players, and three of them are in the promotion players. So we will see if they can be promoted.
Yeah. I know Anchormako has been sort of flip-flopping between like 6th, 7th, and 8th spot on the rankings. So yeah, a bit of a roller coaster, but he has made it into the final playoff spot, and he is the third player who is unbeaten this season, with 2 wins and 11 draws. So yeah, well done to him. Uh, that's a sort of rare occurrence over here, as we've seen. Uh, and I am just checking. while the Wizard is Division 2 in
Yeah.
Red League. So there you go. Um, but yeah, I think this was one of the more toss-up divisions going in. We didn't really know how most of the table would do. I know a lot of the French players over here are at least new faces to most of us in um, on this side. I think they've played a lot more in the French leagues. So yeah, this season we've really gotten a glimpse of their skills, and maybe some of them will promote up to Division 4 next season, and we can see them climb the rankings. But yeah, now it's time to take a look at the playoffs that are going to continue after this final week. And we start off with the playoff battles in Division 1. Starting off the playoffs for the championship go on. Boxer plays Solar Sensei, and you, Orpheus, plays Sheldon Wong.
Yeah. There were 4 US maps in the map pool, so there is no suspense for Solar Sensei and Sheldon picks.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it was my fifth choice, very by default because yeah, I didn't have any preferences in the map pool this week, and
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty low in the order. So yes, we'll see how it will go in. And Boxa, I think, didn't pick his map, but for him, I think everything fits.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the for the relegation playoffs, um, I think Rural World of by Soviet Spy is non-moving, so
Wait,
it's
is it? I
um,
have not played and I did not realize any of this. If that is the
I
case, I am dreading my match. Um, oh yeah, it's non-moving.
yes, so it's a pretty obvious choice for a Soviet Spy because he is very good in non-moving games.
Okay.
And yeah, you picked random islands, so I don't know if you like islands.
Mm-hmm. I I mostly went for it because I played a 5 random cities map one of the weeks. Uh I'm not sure which week that was. Uh I'm just scrolling down this to see. But what I realized about it is that it is really good for just getting points because it's basically a very localized map with sort of world map score scaling, if that makes sense. Um, because you know what the islands are going in. So just by guessing on the island, you can pretty much guarantee 24K plus. And so it really comes down to pinpointing, which I am pretty good at, I'd say. So that was sort of my strategy going in. Uh, but yeah, I think it's gonna come down to a real world for sure. Um, to sort of save myself from relegation. And meanwhile, we have Scriper going with 5 random cities up against Barry Fishy Bear with Vancouver. Which I mean, 2 urban maps. That's gonna come down to some tiebreakers. I'm almost certain of it.
It's
Uh,
interesting that Barry didn't pick an US map, but Vancouver. So I don't know. Maybe if he really knows the region.
yeah. I think for most purposes, Canadian cities are pretty much identical to US cities. Um, and yeah, I mean, most Canadian cities are closer to the US than to other Canadian cities. Uh, but yeah, that's definitely gonna be an interesting pick. We'll see whether Barry can, um, pull some kind of advantage there. And save himself from relegation. But yeah, let's move on to the Division 2 playoffs. And for promotion, we have Wordog facing up against TGB Madone and Brian facing off against Pierre. And let me just get the 5 cities that Brian picked. I know one of them was Indianapolis, but I need to confirm what the other ones were. And I'm just clicking to the seed real quick. But yeah. Who do you think might win this week?
I I think Brian chose cities that he already knows, so I think it will be difficult for Pierre on this map. Um, so it will depend on the world map chosen by Pierre and the decider map. While for Werdock, I don't. It was his fifth choice, so maybe like me, it wasn't. It was a by default pick. So yeah, I don't know if he really wanted to play that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think the world maps will be very important.
Yeah. Uh, Meanwhile, in the relegation playoffs, Dreifunkpunkt is facing off against WTF. Trichter is facing off against Ollie, and yeah, Dreifunkpunkt got the map I wanted, so that is unfortunate. But yeah, two urban maps in the first one, and I guess pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum for the second one.
Yeah, so the diverse world is not moving for
Okay.
Trichter, so I know he is very good in non-moving games, so it will be interesting. And yeah, the urban locations in Andorra, well, it's a pretty easy country, but in towns there are a lot of small roads, so it could be difficult sometimes to pinpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It will depend on the location.
Yeah.
And yeah, very urban for the other matchup, so it's hard to predict. Even if Dreifunkpunkt is German, maybe he knows very well Netherlands. So yeah, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't really know who is the favorite here.
Yeah. Uh, Also, I think the diverse world map is actually moving. Uh, at least that's what like the map that's in the pool is moving. So yeah, maybe if Dricta
Oh
was
yes,
hoping to get a sort of non-moving advantage, that isn't there for him sadly. Uh,
yes. I read the three, but it was the three
ah,
for the choice. Yes.
yeah. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting playoff there. And meanwhile, here's how it's going to look on the other side of that battle in the Division 3 promotion playoffs. Jake has gotten his map pick again, an official uncommon world. Who would have guessed? And meanwhile, he's facing off against Farabon with one of the Civilization alphabet maps. And Max is facing off against Altingwook for the other promotion playoff. Altingwook picked a Thai province, which was his third pick, so he might be playing for something there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, the obvious official uncommon world. I think Jake Lyons already picked this map against Farabon in the regular season, so
Mm-hmm.
it will be a repeat. But Farabon actually won the seed when they played in the regular season, so
Oh,
could be interesting. It so it's hard to predict this matchup.
yeah.
Uh, for um, For the other matchup, mm, I don't know why Altingwook picked Thai Province. Maybe he knows them very well, so it will be interesting also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other than that, Nakiro playing again against 59 Soundbite, like in the week 13. So
Mm-hmm.
it was in Australia, but this time it's in Oceania, so it will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And the Laban Graham in Norway. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he lost in the islands, but maybe in this particular region, he will be able to win.
Yeah. I think Nakiro's pick of Oceania may not have been the smartest move. I believe Soundbite used to live in Australia, which is why Soundbite also picked Australia last week. So yeah, I think I might prefer Soundbite on this matchup. So maybe a little lapse in strategy. I don't know. Uh, but yeah. There you go. I think okay, between Labangram and Sealfer, I don't know who might win, but I feel the need to support Labangram on this one, uh, being his former teammate. But yeah, um, definitely a favorite for Norway. Not sure where the World Series could go. Um, yeah. Let's move down to Division 4. And these are the promotion playoffs. The relegation playoffs are the story is a little more complicated, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. We have the two Austrians, Clemens and Calamity, facing off against Renata and Seb Kiost, respectively. Um, yeah, Clemens playing Town Squares of the World for I think the second week in a row. Or I think he's played it before, so he might have a bit of an advantage there. Um, but yeah, honestly, I'm not too sure which way these matches could go.
Yeah, Clemens against Renata is it's a very urban matchup. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can be complicated to know who will win. Um, for Calamity, he picked the Pan American Highway that we had in the preseason. So it will be a very American matchup because Sepcrost picked South Dakota. Interesting
Mm-hmm.
that his first choice was an US state. Um, I think Calamity is the favorite, but yeah, I don't know. Pan American Highway could be challenging depending on the locations in some countries which are more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So I've just checked, and I'm confusing town squares of the world with Clemens's own Austrian town squares map, which he did play once in the season. But yeah, I don't. We'll see how he can do. Maybe if there's some actual Austrian town squares sprinkled in, he might have a bit of an advantage. But we'll have to see. But let's move on to probably one of the more complicated battles going on. Uh, the battle between Division 4 and 5. Relegation for Division 4, promotion for Division 5 is a little more complicated since there's two Division 5s. But yeah, we've got a lot of matches to talk about here. Within uh, d- uh, are there any matches entirely within Division 4? I don't think so. Um, but yeah. I mean, any matches in particular over here that stand out to you?
Um, I think um, like Radox against Jeune Hérisson could be interesting. They could be both in higher divisions, and also Rafa against Guado Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Well, the first matchup, Paranoid Android picked. No, I don't think he picked. It was random. I think Urban Siberia. It
Mm.
uh, it could be a bit hard for them. I don't know. It will depend on the seed. Um, Other than that, a lot of world maps. Um, so it's a bit hard to predict.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
Let me actually figure out what are the countries for these. So, for Anko Mako's match, there's 5 random countries, which can I figure out what they are? The 5 random countries are Indonesia, oh no, Canada, Denmark, Spain, and Mexico. So, uh, maybe he has a bit of an advantage with Indonesia. We'll have to see about that. Um, but yeah. Meanwhile, the Thorpe's match is France, Belgium, Luxembourg, San Marino, and Iceland. So, yeah, it was countries of his choice. So I'm sure, he having first. Actually, no, he didn't have first pick for this week, but he has gone with countries he's strong with. But Lord Pepsi with Albania, we'll have to see how strong they are on that one. Um,
yeah, Albanian cities could be challenging if you don't find the city name. It could be difficult to know where you are. So yes, but it's I mean he's from a neighboring country, so maybe he knows a lot Albania.
yeah. But yeah, about Radox's match, I don't know how good Jin is on uh sort of world maps like that. But Radox, given that he doesn't like pinpointing at all, I think he's definitely gonna have some trouble in Netanya. So, I might favor Jin on that one. But we'll have to see about it. Uh, yeah. Other than that, some really interesting matches. Unlike the other playoff battles that we've seen so far, um, the losers over here do not have a second chance, so to speak. So yeah, that makes these playoff battles even more important for them. So yeah, uh, you'll have to stay tuned for that. But yeah, that does it for the regular season of the Map Battle League. Uh, yeah, it's been a long time since we began, and yeah, just what, like 2 weeks remaining until the season's over. But yeah, Orpheus, thank you for coming on the show this week.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and yeah, stay tuned for the um playoffs next week, which we'll bring to you on the show.